And one thing on top of that, we do know that there's a lot of other problems, not just going on with Meghan Markle and her overall career, quote-unquote, in the Hollywood bubble, the film industry, etc., but also there's a lot of issues going on internally over at Netflix between herself.
It's the kind of Hollywood drama you couldn't write better if you tried. A high-profile royal turned producer, a major streaming platform under scrutiny, and a scandal that now threatens to derail both careers and contracts. Meghan Markle, once hailed as a breath of fresh air in the royal family, and later as a bold voice in Hollywood, is now facing what some are calling the most embarrassing moment of her post-royal career. And yes, tears have been shed, tensions are rising, and the fallout? Well, it's nothing short of a mess. Welcome back, everyone! Let's dive into the latest developments surrounding Meghan Markle and her spiraling situation at Netflix. And trust me, this isn't your typical celebrity stumble. We're talking internal investigations, serious accusations, and a statement from Meghan herself that's raising eyebrows across the entertainment world. Now, it all began with the promising start of Meghan's project, With Love, Meghan. The show, which was set to redefine her post-royal image as a creative force, initially sparked some excitement. Season 1 rolled out with glossy visuals, emotionally charged scenes, and, of course, Meghan front and center. But behind the scenes, it was far from a fairy tale. According to insiders, tensions were already brewing between Markle and top Netflix executives, including Greg Peters and Ted Sarandos. What started as minor creative disagreements allegedly escalated into full-blown.
Netflix CEO Greg Peters, Ted Sarandos, the executives over there, the board of directors, and it's been an entire mess for the entire situation of producing the second season of With Love, Meghan.
Conflict over direction, authenticity, and, most importantly, originality. This is where things took a serious turn. An internal review reportedly uncovered that several segments of With Love, Meghan bore striking resemblances to scenes from other well-known shows. Everything from the flashy confrontations of the Kardashians to the chaotic dynamics of Jersey Shore, and even structured elements lifted from shows like Survivor and Hell's Kitchen. Not just inspiration, actual scene setups, dialogue rhythms, and even camera movements were allegedly too close for comfort. When Netflix launched a quiet internal investigation, the findings pointed to content that may not have been as original as initially claimed, and then came the fallout. Netflix, aware of the growing media scrutiny, began pushing for reshoots. What was supposed to be Season 2 quickly revealed itself to be more like Season 1 Part 2. The first 16 episodes were shot back-to-back, but following the investigation, the company decided to delay the continuation and implement additional changes to avoid reputational risk. Meghan, reportedly blindsided and emotionally shaken, released a public statement that's become a lightning rod in this already volatile storm. In the statement, Meghan expressed her frustration and disappointment. As a grown woman, she wrote, "I think I know the difference between right and wrong. But one thing that is absolutely wrong is the grave accusations from typical production studios in this industry. It hurts because nobody understands who the real Meghan is." She went on to describe the entertainment industry as superficial, judgmental, and unrewarding, especially for women with ambition. And while many sympathized with the emotional tone of her message, others couldn't help but notice a familiar pattern, using societal issues as a defense mechanism in the face of criticism. For some fans, the statement struck a chord, but for others, it only added fuel to the fire. Critics were quick to point out what they viewed as a lack of accountability. "It's not misogyny if you're being called out for copying content," one producer tweeted, and the backlash didn't stop there. Former supporters who once championed Meghan's Hollywood leap have reportedly begun to distance themselves, calling the entire situation disappointing and predictable. Meghan's response didn't end with the written statement, either. Insiders say that in private meetings with Netflix, she became increasingly emotional, at one point even breaking down in frustration over the situation. Sources close to the negotiations claim she demanded a higher payout for the upcoming continuation of With Love, Meghan, arguing that her presence and influence brought value to the platform. Netflix, however, wasn't moved. Executives allegedly stood firm, pointing out that rebranding Season 2 would only cost more due to the required reshoots and the cloud of controversy hovering over the project. Now here's where things get even more complicated. Meghan's tone has shifted in recent days, and she's now emphasizing broader themes. about toxic environments, about expectations placed on women, and about what she calls a culture of unearned judgment. In her words, sometimes respect isn't earned, it's expected, especially when you are a hardworking mother and actress trying to create something meaningful. But again, this sentiment has split public opinion. Some applaud her resilience. Others say the tone comes across as entitled. Let's take a moment to look at the deeper dynamic at play here. Meghan Markle, since stepping away from the royal family, has consistently framed her narrative around identity, purpose, and authenticity. In her Netflix series, podcast ambitions, and public interviews, she's leaned heavily into themes of self-empowerment. And that's not inherently wrong, but in an industry where originality is the currency, the allegations of plagiarism don't sit well. For critics, it raises a simple but brutal question. If you claim to be misunderstood, how do you explain copying something so recognizably from others? And we can't ignore the cultural shift happening in real time. Audiences are growing more skeptical of celebrity messaging. Terms like misogyny and toxic masculinity, while still valid in context, are being used so frequently in crisis PR that they've started to lose their potency. As one former Markle fan put it feels like every time she's criticized, she pulls out the same arguments. It doesn't feel authentic anymore. Add to that the larger media fatigue. Hollywood is under pressure not just to entertain, but to be original, meaningful, and honest. When content fails to meet those expectations, especially when it claims to do exactly that, the backlash is swift. Meghan's latest project is now at the center of that conversation. And unfortunately, instead of standing as a symbol of reinvention, it's becoming a case study in how quickly the tide can turn. And then there's the future. Will Meghan continue working with Netflix after all this? Insiders say the relationship is strained, but not yet severed. Some believe she may try to pivot to podcasting or writing, where the creative control is tighter and the scrutiny less immediate. She herself hinted at this, mentioning in her statement that she plans to address toxic masculinity in an upcoming podcast by the end of summer. But will audiences tune in, or has the trust already been broken? One thing's for sure, this situation is far from over. What started as an opportunity to reshape her Hollywood narrative has quickly turned into a reputational crisis. The real Meghan Markle, as she says, wants to be understood. But if this scandal continues to grow, the public might be left wondering, who is the real Meghan Markle? And can she reclaim the spotlight on her own terms? As always, we'll be watching this story unfold. Let us know what you think. Was this a case of unfair criticism? Or is the backlash justified? And can Meghan Markle come back from this Netflix drama with her career and reputation intact?